What's up, Mindurance heads? Hope you're doing well. Dr. Steve Graef here with another installment of Thinking with Dr. Steve, where we take a topic and I reflect on it, and then hopefully we end up with some type of life lesson or takeaway or something to gather from the experience with one another. Keep in mind, not medical advice. Just because I'm a psychologist does not mean I am offering medical advice. This is just my own little reflections for entertainment. Just because I say it doesn't mean you need to do it. So without further ado, let's check out today's topic, shall we? Got my handy dandy Sakio app. And stop. Love triangle. That's juicy. Love triangle. Let's dump it out. What comes to mind? Well, immediately, back when I was in high school, I was involved in a bit of a love triangle. Actually, you know what? I had kind of two love triangles. And maybe this was a high school thing and a middle school thing. Curious if you all had this as well. You have to leave a comment if you too was involved in a love triangle. But twice, definitely twice in my early years, formative years, I had a crush on a girl, and one of my good friends also had a crush on the same girl. This happened in like fourth to sixth grade ish, and then it also happened like my junior-ish, senior-ish year of high school. And it's brutal, right? I mean, and both times I was on the losing end of it. I'm not sure if that has anything to do with like my current perspectives of relationships or anything or not, but it certainly was trying when you both have a crush on the same girl, you talk about it, and one kind of ends up winning out and the other does not. So that certainly comes to mind when I think of love triangle. Ooh, I haven't thought about that in a little while. Actually, not true. It came up in a conversation not too long ago. But I digress. What else comes to mind when I think of love triangle as I dump this out? Well, I love triangles. And what I mean by that is when I think of love triangle, a particular triangle comes to mind, and that's mind, body, spirit. Mind, body, spirit is like a triangle, an interconnected triangle that I tend to think a bit about as I approach my work. Mind, body, spirit, as I approach travel. Mind, body, spirit. What do I mean by that? So, like in my work, mind, body, and spirit. Mind is the intellect. Body is like the structuring and packaging and the presence, groundedness that I bring. And then the spirit is like the engaged energy that I offer within coaching. So there's always that mind, body, spirit lens that I view my work from. With traveling around, it can often be a little bit overwhelming in terms of what activities do you want to schedule, and what shows do you want to see? What do you want to get? How do you spend your days, essentially, when you're traveling? And it can get a bit overwhelming when you're trying to see and do everything while recognizing that you can't. So recently, I started viewing travel from a mind, body, spirit lens, where if each day I could do something mind-wise, like culturally engaging, where I learned something new about the culture of the place that I'm at. Body, where I am able to engage with the area physically by doing some type of physical activity, something that enriches or enhances the body in some type of way. And then spirit is the stimulative, hedonistic, fun, energetic aspect of exploring a new place or culture. Food, drink, music, art, socializing. That's where the spirit of that comes. So if you can tackle a intellectually stimulating, physically stimulating, and spiritually stimulating aspects daily, I would say that's a pretty damn good day when you're traveling, but also certainly in life. So that's kind of an interesting thing that I think of when I think of travel. When I think of triangle, love triangle. Um, yeah, let's. I also thinking love triangle is just the wins, losses, and gains like that each individual's experience in that love triangle. So someone wins out, someone loses out, another person kind of wins out, but also has the stress that knowing that they kind of influenced a loss and wanting to kind of moderate how much of a loss was felt. Like there's a lot of emotional dynamics that are involved in a love triangle. I think of an open relationship and the dynamics involved in that. I think of how do you keep multiple people happy in a love triangle. So there's a lot of directions here today, all from love triangle. So what thread do I want to pull? God, I love coffee. Um, let's let's go with keeping people happy. Why not? Um, as a people pleaser, historically, I can really appreciate kind of that concept. And all of us are probably to some, I don't know if all of us, but I know a lot of us have a tendency to people please. A lot of people in my profession have a tendency to people please. And the older I get, there's more and more of a recognition that it's just hard to keep everybody happy. Um, but I, but it's still something that I think is a quest of mine. Is something I tried to do to be the peacemaker a little bit. Um, want people to like me, etc. And I'm sure there's a lot of individuals that are out there that feel that same way. But as I've gotten older, it's been kind of a nice maturation where I always wondered how like just old people could just drive slow, fart in public, say ridiculous things. And I always thought like, wow, like what about social manners and stuff? And then realize as I've gotten older, the older you get, you just start caring less, right? You stop giving less shits. And then in some ways it's a beautiful thing when it's kind of managed appropriately. Um, so now I'm kind of going down this thread of caring a little bit less. The subtle art of not giving a fuck by Mark Manson. The Mel Robbins book, Let Me Let Them, is kind of a newer book that also has this kind of message where I got to do my thing, and I know it's going to ruffle some feathers, and they need to work. They'll have to figure out how they respond to that, but I have to do what I have to do to maintain boundaries. So it's a really interesting topic generally, and I think it's one that resonates with a lot of people where we get caught up in other people's dramas, and though we may want to be supportive, those dramas can start to weigh on us a little bit. So how do we get better at creating those boundaries around ourselves in personal relationships, at work, and even just out in the real world? I'm amazed sometimes. I don't know if I have an empathy radar or something, and I'll just be out walking in the local neighborhood or going to a hair salon to get the hair cut or something, and people will just unload on me. And it's not that I'm not here for it, but at the same time, eventually, like, I have things to do. I want to complete my haircut, I want to continue my walk, etc. And so knowing when to set that boundary, it's like, okay, it's time for me to move on, can become important. And so today, I think that's just something for us to think about. And this may have took, kind of, we may have meandered a little bit, but what I'm taking from Love Triangle is the ability to, like, create boundaries. Create boundaries around a lot of things. Create boundaries around my work, mind, body, spirit. So we're incorporating that back in. So I have boundaries around how I view the lens of my work from a mental, structural, and energetic standpoint. Boundaries around how I treat travel, knowing that I cannot do everything, but I can do something. So that which I can do, I will do. I will. We used to say that little thing before. Played football at Ohio State. We would say that before we ran out every single day. It was a trestle thing. Loved it. I'm only one, but I am one. I can't do everything, but I can do something. And that's what I can do, I ought to do, and what I ought to do, by the grace of God, I shall do. And so, yeah, knowing I can't do everything in the world of travel, can I do a mentally stimulating, a physically stimulating, and a spiritually stimulating type of activity each and every day? When it comes to people and relationships, now it's less about the kind of mind, body, spirit aspect, and more so just about the navigating multiple people and perspectives that we have in our lives and how to create boundaries around those. Sometimes our boundaries are very porous and we let that hairstylist in, we let that neighbor in, and maybe that's okay. But when energy is down or we ourselves need to fill up our fuel tank, sometimes letting that in can be more draining for us. And so there are times where I need to put my foot down. There are times where when I put my foot down, I feel a little bit guilty about it. There are times when I kind of psychologically stiff arm somebody's dumping of something, that I feel a little bit guilty about that. But I also recognize, I'm not in a psycho-emotional place where I can fully absorb this right now, because I'm absorbing a lot in professional world and out there in society when friends, family, neighbors, hairstylists, etc., the mailman offers things up. And we would love to be able to carry all this, but sometimes it's not for us to carry it all. So I invite that as an opportunity for all of us to just be a little more aware of the boundaries that we're creating, the triangles that we find ourselves in, and how we can incorporate mind, body, spirit, perhaps, into as a frame for how to organize and create boundaries around some life things. Who knew? All from Love Triangle, we would have all these different kind of areas. None of them are fully fleshed out. This is just me thinking out loud, and maybe it's helpful, maybe it's not. But if anything, maybe it has you think a little bit more about how you create boundaries in your life. Because the triangle also has that's a great boundary. A lean-to, this is a very solid structure. The A-frame is a very solid structure, the way that it all they're working with one another. So boundaries are important. What are the boundaries that you, me, us could apply a little bit more of in our lives? In addition, food for thought, if you are somebody who has rock solid boundaries is there an opportunity in your life to to maybe loosen some of those boundaries a bit? Would that be helpful? Pros and cons. And thinking about the pros and cons of very solid boundaries, and do we need those boundaries? And then pros and cons of more porous, loose boundaries, and where might those be appropriate? Who knows? Only you do. Something to think about. Stemmed from love triangle, and we made it to boundaries and the consideration of boundaries. Certainly has given me some food for thought. I hope it has for you. As always, if you're interested in exploring boundaries a little bit more, I have a coaching offer called The Room. You can learn more about it in the description. Check out the website. But if not, that's okay. Maybe another time. In the meantime, feel free to like this video and subscribe. I'm new to this whole game. I'm trying to keep things analog, but so far it's been pretty fun. So I'll keep the ball going. I'll keep the journey going. And hopefully I'll see you on the next one as well. Until then, have a great, great day. And this has been Thinking with Dr. Steve. Have a good one, folks. Bye.